Hey, this is Gen X Amplified episode number 12. And on today's show, we are going to talk about building the right systems in your business and also why it's important to really niche down to your ideal target market so you can dominate in your industry. So, are you ready? Let's do it.
There's something that you know better than most, or there's a problem that you've identified that you were like, why is it? I know how to fix that, and then figure out you connect those two.
Welcome to Gen X Amplified, where we bring you inspirational and entertaining conversations with successful Gen X leaders and entrepreneurs.
This is the show created just for you. The powerful generation between the boomers and millennials to help you amplify your story,
Maximize your impact,
and become Gen Exceptional in business and in life.
Now, here's your host, Adrian Porter.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Amplified. This is your host, Adrian Porter, and I tell you, I'm always excited to do this show. I mean, there are a lot of other things that I could be doing, but to sit here and chat with some very smart and exciting people is always great. I'm blessed, and today is no exception because my guest today is a professional speaker, author, and what you would call a digital-preneur. He started his career with Authur Andersen in the 1990s. You know, that era of Friends, Vanilla Ice, Nirvana, all that good stuff, with the exception of Vanilla Ice. It depends upon who you ask. But anyway, after realizing the huge opportunities in digital marketing, he quickly started his own digital agency in 1999 until he successfully sold it 12 years later. He now helps businesses, particularly agencies, with strategies that get them to the next level. Please welcome today's Gen Exceptional guest, Mr. Jason Swenk. Jason, what's going on?
Hey man, well, I'm X'd up to be on your show. You get it?
Hey man, I totally got it. I'm sure everybody else got it. I'm X'd up too. Let's get this let's get this going. I'm really excited. But you have a great inspirational and fascinating story, and that's what I was really excited about having you on, particularly when it comes to focusing on Gen X leaders that are really doing things that they're passionate about, but more importantly, creating value and making an impact. So let's just dive right in. Let's first start, Jason, with you just kind of briefly talking about your path and your story and how it led you to the focus of what you're doing now with your business.
Yeah. So it's funny that you mentioned Vanilla Ice, and then in the 90s, I mean, I used to love them, but I actually got my start because
I'm sorry, I want to hold it against you. I promise I will.
I know, but I actually got my start because of a 90s band called NSYNC. And one of my friends actually looked just like Justin Timberlake.
Okay.
And so I designed a website. My first website I designed was called and it literally was like a parody website, and it got really popular in the late 90s, and people then started asking me to design websites.
Wow.
And I was like, $500, right? And so I started getting more and more, and then as I kept going on, I was like, man, I can really do this. Mm-hmm. And so I left the paper shredding company called Authur Andersen, and before I guess they were paper shredding, or they allegedly got caught or whatever it was.
Oh yes.
And left them to, really be an entrepreneur. I didn't know what an entrepreneur was. I didn't even know what an invoice was. When my first client asked me to send them, I had to ask my dad about it. Mm-hmm. And, and the journey was really cool. We just started working with some really big companies, and like LegalZoom and Hitachi and AT&T and Aflac, mm-hmm. and built this amazing team that was so much fun, had lots of frustrations, but lots of joy. And then a couple of years ago, sold it. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, dude, what do I do now? I was like, everybody's working, and I always need to be building something.
Right.
And I remember having a phone call with someone that was a competitor at the time while I was running the agency. And she was like, I'm struggling with my agency, and now since you're out of it, can I ask you some questions? And I wound up helping this person out significantly. And I was like, this is it. This is what I got to do.
Oh, wow. Now, when you finally jumped into that entrepreneurship waters, if you will, were you scared? Like, how high was the fear factor?
I was so, I didn't know what was going on, so there was no fear. right? I was used to living off nothing. So
Okay.
there was no fear, and I've never really had fear, right? I think fear really happens of kind of like, I think the only fear I maybe ever have is not being prepared,
Okay.
right? And so I've jumped out of planes, I've done whatever. So I'm always a pretty big risk taker. So there's not fear there. I think when people start fearing, they start making decisions based on money. And I think that's the wrong place to be.
Now, was that mindset you have, which by the way, is a great mindset and a great way to approach fear, for lack of a better word. Was that something that you were born with? Were you taught that? Was it something that you had to work towards?
I think it's probably all of it. I think it goes back to, my dad was fearless. He taught me to be fearless, fear not doing it.
Okay.
Is kind of, the biggest thing, because, creating a business or not doing something because you're fearful of failing is just the wrong way to look at it.
Okay. No, that I totally agree. That's something that I sometimes struggle with. I mean, especially when you start getting into new ventures, it's like you have that, you feel unprepared, or you feel that, and when that unpreparedness really takes over, you procrastinate. And so I love when you said fear not doing it. You have to just do it.
Yeah, I mean, I learned a long time ago that we make decisions based on two reasons alone, right? Is we either do it based on pleasure, or we do it to avoid pain. And and the way we make decisions is whatever we weigh more, right? So if it's eating that cookie, right? You eat that cookie, you're showing more relevant to the power of that instant pleasure rather than that pain that will come with that, one pack.
So when you have that, so in 1999, when you started the agency, correct? It was 99.
Yep.
What was the landscape like when it comes to digital agencies? Because as we all know, the digital world and the marketplace was drastically different than it is right now.
Yeah, we weren't even called digital agencies back there. We were more kind of like a web shop. Okay. And then there was traditional agencies, right?
Right.
Kind of the snail mail ones, right? And so, and for a number of different years, we didn't know where we were going. So it was kind of hard to say, how did we get certain places, until I got really serious. But, it was a new kind of venture. I remember going through the yellow pages and going, you don't have a website, you need one. I mean, literally no one had websites. So it was a brand new, and it's always changing now.
Right.
And it was just so exciting. And then everybody around me was getting bought up. If they developed any kind of technology company, right? This is in the .com era before it was a .bomb. They were getting bought up. And so our first intention was to build it up and sell it very quickly.
Okay.
But we didn't have anything to sell. We were just a couple of dudes and a couple girls that we didn't know what we were doing in the early years.
Now, so that's interesting. You said that was the initial intention, to sell it from the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then it changed.
Okay.
Right? Because I saw everybody else doing it. So I was like, I gotta build a business and sell it.
Right.
If I can get to 1 million, I can get a multiple of 30 times. I mean, that's what it used to be, right? And this is for any company,
right?
It's anything innovative. And so we looked at it that way. And then when the .com crash, that actually helped us, because a lot of the bigger guys went out of business. We were able to move upstream. And then I was like, I actually love doing this. So let's build this really cool company that we can do whatever we want. We don't ever have to take orders from anybody, and have a nice lifestyle.
Wow, I think about that time, 1999. I think like Netscape was the biggest browser.
Oh yeah, Netscape Composer. That's how I designed the first website.
Oh wow. So you successfully, and that's the key word, successfully sold it about 12 years later. How did you feel at that moment? Like, what was that like when you sold the company?
I felt like I gave birth. Really, I mean, it's your baby. I mean, you build it up, you morph it, you train it, you change it, you change the diapers, all this kind of stuff. And I almost I felt really happy and joyful, but then I also felt kind of sad too, because I still didn't know what I was going to do afterwards. right? I knew I had to stay with the company for a period of time.
Okay.
But I had no control, right? I was just the highest paid meeting coordinator. But
You stayed. Okay. So after you sold it, you stayed around as more of a consultant or just.
Yeah, I stayed around until we were able to position to sell the agency again.
Okay.
And that I was out then or at 2 years. So I was just lucky it was in 9 months. So I didn't have to stick around for the 2 years.
Okay.
But yeah, so I mean, it was happy and joyful. It's kind of like you do something for 12 years. That's all you feel that you know.
Right.
And that's probably what a lot of listeners, maybe they've been in a job for 10, 12, 20 years and you think that's all you know, right? But there's so much else out there. I mean, it's really pretty cool.
All right, so take us there. Let's go there together. You sell it, you stay around because of still the value that you can provide until you can sell it again, and then until that. How would you describe that transition period from that point to what you're doing now? Like, how did you feel? What were you doing to prepare you for your next level of success?
Yeah, well, I didn't know what the next level was, right?
Okay.
So, I literally created an iPhone app that took pictures of everything you ate and give you a visualization and didn't have any passion behind it. I didn't even want to use it. So I was like, I got to garbage this and I walked away from that. So it's also knowing like when you got like a turd, walk away from it. It might have been good, but I mean, maybe I could have polished it into a diamond, but I didn't want to spend the time to do it. I didn't enjoy it.
Okay.
Right? And then I took a job as a chief innovation officer for some friends of mine that owned like a $40 million company and worked for them for a year and loved it in the very beginning because I didn't have any responsibility like financially, right? And I didn't have to hire or any of that. I could just come up with innovative ideas. That's all I was doing. I was like, this is cool. And then I just started going, I'm not employable. I'm broken. And at that same time, people started reaching out to me to help them out. And I said, yeah, let's do it. I started doing one-on-one consulting and really loved it. But then I realized that there was a problem with that, and it's sheer scale, right? People are coming to me for my knowledge and my expertise and the experience that I have. So I can't really train that in other people. So how do I scale it? Right? And I think every business needs to figure that out because time is your most valuable asset. Right. It's not about money. You can never create time. You can't ever get time back. And so I knew I needed to really automate my business. And I have the coolest business in the world. I mean, literally, I work less than 80 hours a month.
A month? Yep. Wow.
Yeah. I do a little bit of consulting for the rock star clients that I have. And then all the other stuff is creating trainable programs that people can better themselves. And then I put on, different mastermind groups to sheer scale and help them out. And it was a painful process because I remember when I started watching like, some of the people I started watching was like Jeff Walker and Frank Kern, and some of those guys. And it's kind of cool that, Frank, I'm a client of Frank's, or I was a client of Frank's, and he's a client of mine. So it's kind of cool how it kind of comes full circle, right? And I started watching them. I was like, dude, this is the coolest thing. If you can get paid while you're doing nothing. And literally, when we were in the pre-show, I was looking at my Apple Watch and I got an order. And it's the coolest feeling. You're like, I made $1,000.
Wow. Now quickly, so you said Frank Kern was a client of yours?
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat, huh?
And you mentioned Jeff Walker. So for those of you in the audience, I believe that's the launch.
Sideways Launch. Yep.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Great book, by the way.
Yeah, great book. It is a good starting point, but then it kind of there's things that they can actually perfect, but we can go into that later.
Okay.
So I started looking at that, I thought that was cool, and so I put together this one course, and I was like, I'm gonna sell it for $99. And it was specific. So, the name of the game is be specific and solve a problem. And no one bought it. I mean, literally like one person bought it. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And what I started realizing is I was asking for marriage too early. I wasn't providing value to my market, which was building trust and authority. Yes, I sold this big agency, but so does a lot of other people, right? And so not everybody knew the agency, so I didn't have that instant credibility. So I needed to kind of step back and say, how can I provide them more value and just help them versus sell? And when I started doing that, that's when the business just absolutely skyrocketed. And it's still skyrocketing today from it.
Now, so your target market, you mentioned, how would you describe, well, who is your target market?
Yeah. So if you go to my website, it's mainly for digital agency owners.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a lot of other people that I work with just because they want to see how I'm doing it. So marketing professionals, business owners, entrepreneurs, freelancers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are the main target market. But if you go to the website, it's only for digital agency owners. And it's to prove a point that you can never drill down too far enough. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the more you drill down, the easier it is to dominate your competition.
Interesting. So let's dig into that a little more, because I think this is a great meaty conversation, because there's a lot of people, a lot of business owners, or even people that want to start a business. So they have that. The first thing they want to do is the first thing that they should do, I should say, is define their audience. But a lot of people are fearful. That's that word again, of narrowing down too much, because they feel they may miss out on potential client. So why do you say that you can never scale down too much?
All right. So let's use an analogy, fishing. Have you ever fished before? Do you like fishing?
I like fishing. I've been fishing, not enough, but I've been fishing.
Okay, cool. So, there's a big difference if you're going to catch red snapper, which is a bottom fish, versus a blue marlin, right?
Right.
So it's totally different. So you need to know who you're fishing for. Right? That's what's so important about a niche. Most people go out in the water and they just throw their line any random way with no bait on it, and they just keep reeling it up and reeling it down, reeling it up, reeling it down. Maybe they'll snag the fish in the tail, but
Right.
The fish is not going to bite. And they go to you and they say, why are people not coming to me to help them out? I'm marketing to everybody.
Right.
Right? The riches is in the niches, a lot of people say, right?
The riches are in the niches. I like that.
Yeah. And so you have to understand your market, because you have to understand their biggest challenges, right? So I generate anywhere from 80 to 100 leads a day because I have the right bait and I know the fish I'm going after. I also know where the fish are, and I also know how to reel them in at the right speed. Okay. So I know their biggest challenge. I know all agency owners want to know how to build a 7-8 figure agency. And so I literally, hey, do you want to know the 12 systems that you need to build a 7-8 figure agency? Boom, got a fish on. Now that I have the fish on, I have to provide them value so I don't yank that hook out. Then when I'm reeling them up, I have to reel them at a certain pace so I don't propose marriage to them and scare them off and they run off, right? And so if you don't understand your niche, you're lost. I mean, if you even think about like Facebook, right? Everybody thinks that they need to copy their biggest competitor, right?
Right.
And they look at their big competitor of going after everybody. But what you should have been studying is, how did they get there? Like, for example, Facebook, they didn't start out going after everybody. They started out in Harvard students, and then Ivy League schools, and then universities and colleges, and then, the Gen Xers, and then, the baby boomers that stalk the Gen Xers, right? All those kind of things.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it's interesting. You say riches are in the niches, and you talked about your website. So yeah, when you go on your website, it's very prominent. It's all about agencies, but you did mention earlier that you are attracting some of those, smaller company owners, leaders, consultants, but you're very focused on the messaging and the communication vehicle of those targeting those agencies. Yeah. Now, you mentioned the 80 to 100 leads a day. So what other tactics are you using to generate those leads? So that's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, I really kind of break it out into different systems, and I'll go through some of them, and then also too, for your audience, I'll create a page for when it goes live. If you go to jasonswank.com/Adrian Porter, I'll have something special to show you even more of how we can generate leads, because it's a long conversation.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much.
So if you guys put it in there, I'll create a special page for you guys. But it really goes down to, first, obviously knowing who you're fishing for. And then it's about creating the right bait, right? What are their biggest challenges? And then providing them value, right? So it could be, what are the top tools in your industry? Stay away from ebooks. Ebooks are garbage because most people don't digest them. Because what you want them to do is you want them to digest it and implement it. And when they have success, now you got instant credibility and trust.
So yeah, that's all right. So a lot of websites that I've seen, and I'm sure a lot of people in the audience either are doing this or have been exposed to sites and consultants where the bait, if you will, or email magnet to get them to engage is an ebook. So you're saying stay away from ebooks.
Ebooks are garbage. If you have an ebook, you're actually ahead of the game because then you can slice it up.
Okay.
So let's say you have 5 chapters in your ebook.
Right.
Now you have 5 different emails that you can provide them value.
Got it.
In your nurture campaign.
Got it.
So you're actually ahead of the game as long as you don't use the ebook.
But you're saying, the ebook, as far as being digestible, you want to give them snack bites of content versus some big long.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah, it all goes back to a concept I call milestone marketing.
Okay.
Where you really want to get this many yeses and get that little mini yes so you can get to the next milestone.
Okay.
Right? And so an ebook, or let's kind of break down like Jeff Walker's Sideways launch, right? So he believes that you opt in to get a video number 1, right? And then 2 days later, you get video number 2. 2 days later, you get video 3. 2 days later, you get like the video sales letter and then the pitch and all that kind of stuff. Well, where you should really kind of implement milestone marketing, make sure that they're engaged. Did they watch all of video number 1? There's technology out there that I use that I know how long people watch a video, and it can trigger different contingency plans. So if they don't watch video number 1 the whole way, I'm not going to send them video number 2 because they weren't interested in video number 1. So I'm going to figure out more about them and then send them something else to see if I can get them more engaged.
Oh, that's pretty smart. So that sounds like you have some really good systems in place. I mean, you mentioned working less than 80 hours a week. You're generating these 100 leads a day. You get to know the behavioral patterns of people that click on this and that. So can you talk just a little bit about those systems that you have in place for your business?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer systems outperform talent all day long, right? That's the only way that you can really kind of scale a business. And I look at it in kind of 12 different systems. Okay. You obviously have the technology systems that you can implement. So I use like Infusionsoft and the marketing automation, and it's cool. But by the time maybe people are listening to this a year or 2 years down the road, maybe there's something better. And there's lots of tools, but it doesn't matter on the technology. It all matters on how are you going to walk them through and provide them value. So kind of the first system I talk about is clarity, right? Knowing where you're going to go. Knowing who you're going after, knowing how to attack, how to nurture, how to capture, how to convert, how to systemize, all those different things. I mean, even from my calendar appointment software, I think you used it for when we did this interview, right? That's a particular system to automate. I literally have all my campaigns connected together. And if you went through them 80 times, you would be unique every time. Like literally you'd have to, I think I calculated one time, you'd have to have over 100 emails to duplicate some of the stuff I had or figure out all the different contingencies and testing in order to do that. And that's what enables me to not work that much. And then it's also about creating systems on how you create content, right? So I have a podcast as well. It's called the Smart Agency Masterclass, and as well as an Ask Swenk show. And so I have a system where when I produce some content, and I just started doing this with Periscope.
I love Periscope.
Yeah. So now what I do is I'll do a live Periscope. I'll take that content, I'll turn it into a YouTube video, and I have a ninja way to do that. So make sure you guys follow me on Periscope at Jason Swenk, and I'll show you how to do that. Then I publish that on iTunes, Sketcher. I write show notes on the website, put it on there, put it on Facebook. So really one piece of content turns into 5 or 6 pieces. And then I basically I have one person working with me, Stacy. She rocks. So if you're listening, Stacy, awesome job. But and then we've basically mapped out our ecosystem, both internal and external ecosystem for the content that we control, as well as the groups we don't. And then literally that one piece of content that we do, we push it out to all those, because most people spend all their time creating content but never promoting it. So I have all kinds of different technology and systems that start making all that stuff go out to all those ecosystems. So that's how I do it.
Wow. So wait, okay, there's you, Jason, and then you just mentioned Stacy.
That's it.
And that's it. And including the tools that you just mentioned that you're doing, you're able to generate all the pieces of content that you mentioned the hundreds, 80 to hundreds of leads and still be able to race your car and do all the fun things that you love to do in your spare time. That is awesome.
Yeah. That's why I said it's the coolest thing. But here's the thing too. A lot of people, you have some expertise in something, you need to figure that out and then leverage that. I had expertise in marketing and running an agency, so I was able to leverage that. So if you don't have expertise in like something that you're trying to do, it's going to be a very hard track in order to duplicate, this type of work.
All right. So you actually were just reading my mind, because I think this is a great time for us to talk about, because you've been dropping value since we started the call. So let's drop a little bit more value. Let's think about the audience specifically, that Gen Xer that's listening in, whether they're 35 or that 43-year-old that may be currently working for a company, right? Mm-hmm. And they either have gotten laid off or they're fearful of being laid off, but they're still thinking about generating income, maybe starting their own business. They have a family, and they really don't know how to tap into their strengths, because especially Gen Xers, if any other generation, they have the years of experience as an asset. But what advice would you give that Gen Xer that have years of experience but really want to leverage that into something that they can own, but not sure how to do it, particularly in this new media, social media content world we live in today?
Yeah, so you can do a test really easy. So there's something that you know better than most, or there's a problem that you've identified that you were like, why is it? I know how to fix that, and then figure out connect those two. And then before you even create a program or a product or anything like that, just start building your list. Create a lead magnet, create your little bait. And like I was talking to, I've been on Conversion Cast with Tim Page.
Oh, yes.
And so we were talking about the best lead magnets to create, which
and just to clarify for the audience who may not know, when you say lead magnet and list, you're talking specifically about email lists.
Emails.
Got it.
Someone's giving you their email for something of value or some kind of knowledge that you have that they don't.
Got it.
Okay. And so, and they spent all this time on developing an ebook, right? And barely anybody downloaded it. And then they said they put together this one little report. And it was like the top 10 tools you need to know about. Hint, 7 of them are free, right? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I have. I have the top 11 tools every agency owner needs to know about. Hint, 8 of them are free, mm-hmm. Right? It literally took me 5 minutes to put this list together. It took me another 2 minutes to put the landing page together. And then I drove traffic to it, whether it be Facebook ads or website traffic, whatever it is, and see if people are interested. So I'm always building my list. Right. So if you really want to think about it, it basically goes back to the ABCs: attract, build your list, convert. That's really it. Those are the numbers you want outside of the revenue and what it cost you. But an easy test is just say, I want to go after this audience. What do they want? Let me put a kind of cool report out there or some kind of list that they want to know, and see how many people are going on that. That's a start. And then start asking them questions. Like one of the best ways of how I was able to change my program, the program that wasn't working, was the second email that they would get. Hey, what's your biggest challenge that you're having? Just reply to this email. I'll get back to you. I still use that email. I still respond to anybody that writes me back, and I get valuable insights. Or when someone buys one of my programs, right? I have a quick survey, 2 questions. Why did you invest? And what are you most excited about learning? So I hear in their own terms what they want. And then you're able to just morph and just keep, giving them value and things that they want. But just keep building your list. Keep getting more and more relevant email addresses for your target. And then you can start asking them, what do they want? What do they struggle with? And then build something that they said that you can deliver. Wow.
You hear that? That is great value bomb, everybody. As Jason said, it's don't sleep on email. Don't sleep on email. Social media is cool, traditional, but it's all about their email lists, relationships, and as you mentioned, the ABCs, which I like: attract, build your list, and convert. I love that.
Because social media is great, but it's rented space. At any moment that could go away.
Right.
Emails don't. you own them. You can control that, or create your own community and invite people. Like when you start, if you want to go after someone, build your own community that you control. You can participate in other people's, but with the intent to build your own. That's where the true value is.
Wow. And
that's how you can get away from, the man telling you to do the TPS reports and you taking a bat to the printer, right?
Right. No, I love that. And you mentioned in that, which I think definitely shouldn't go unnoticed, is the listening aspect. While you're building your list, you're building your, as you say, your magnet to get them on your list, is to listen to their challenges and their pain points, which I think is really, as you mentioned, really, really important. You have to know, as you mentioned earlier in the conversation, you have to know who you're serving, and you have to know what their pain points are and the challenges. Yeah, that's awesome. So this has been great, Jason. I can talk for another half hour, man. This has been too good, but we got to wrap up. But there are two questions that I always ask all of my guests at the end of Gen X Amplified, and I'm actually can't wait to hear your answer to these questions. The first one is, if there was a song that would play every time you entered a room or when you walked down the street that fits perfectly the story of you and the brand of Jason Swenk, what song would that be? Basically, what would be your own personal theme song?
It'd be probably one song I love is the Motley Crue "Kickstart My Heart." I don't know. I just or "Welcome to the Jungle," right? Okay, well, so you have to pick. I love both songs, so this is going to be tough. You have to pick one though. If you walk into the room like right now, what song do you want blasting? When you want to welcome to the Jungle, Guns N' Roses. Wow. And tell the audience why. I don't know. I mean, I just think it's a jungle. It's always a maze, and you never know what you're going to see, and you got to be a little crazy, right? It's kind of, it goes all back to, almost once a week I watch that ad from what Steve Jobs did at Apple, kind of the crazy ones. Yeah, love that. Classic. I mean, it's awesome, right? So, right. I always want to be a little crazy. I don't want to be like anybody else. Yeah. And that's how you stand out. Got it. It's a jungle. Welcome to the jungle. Guns N' Roses. Love it. Love it. All right. And lastly, if there was one specific tool or resource, it can be a mobile app, a book, or a website, or anything that you recommend, particularly for that Gen Xer looking to build their brand, start a business, enhance their personal development, what would it be, Jason? It would either be Lead Pages or Infusionsoft. Okay. And tell us briefly why. Lead Pages is just pretty cool. I mean, they literally, I'm a graphic designer by trade, so I could design all these myself. So I had a little hard time going there, but it allows you to create these landing pages really, really quick. Got it. And they all convert. My landing pages convert at over 35%. So 35% of the people that see my pages give me their email address. Now it comes down to messaging and that kind of stuff, but that tool allows me to do it, and it's so cheap. They should, those guys, Clay and those guys should raise their prices. So you better get on it. And no, I'm not an investor. I am an affiliate. So, but we probably won't have a link on here. But but go get it. And then Infusionsoft. That's the central hub of everything I do. It controls all the automation, calls all my workflows, everything, billing. So I couldn't do it without that. So that's great. So it's all about, again, just I think the theme of this, especially with Lead Pages and Infusionsoft, it's all about building your list and creating a great experience for your target audience. And as you just mentioned, convert, that last C in the ABCs of conversion. So Jason, it's been a blast. Why don't you tell the Gen X Amplified community the best way to know more about you and connect with you? Yeah, the best way is to go to the website, jasonswank.com. And like I said, if you guys want to know a little bit more of how I do the lead generation, go to jasonswank.com/Adrian Porter, and you guys can get that. And then follow me on Periscope. I am literally sharing my entrepreneur journey all day long. Sometimes I'll do something goofy, sometimes I'll do something wacky, and then other times I'll give you straight up hopefully good advice that you guys can go do. Love it. And I love Periscope. It's live. It may change by the time but it's live for 24 hours. If you don't catch Jason when he's live, you can watch his replay up to 24 hours, I believe. Or you can go to my YouTube channel because I have a Ninja Way, and you'll only know the Ninja Way. I actually put it on YouTube as well.
You're saving your scopes, huh? Okay.
I know how to save the scopes in a Ninja Way that doesn't look like that boring horizontal look. So.
Yeah. All right. Cool. It's been great. Jason, thanks so much for spending time with the community.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Okay, that was a great chat with Jason Swenk. Plenty of valuable information, especially for business owners, about building systems, finding your ideal target audience, and email marketing. Great stuff. So I want to thank Jason for spending some time with us and sharing his story along with all of the valuable takeaways. And I really hope you got a lot out of our conversation, especially I was thinking about his personal theme song choices. Guns N' Roses and Welcome to the Jungle, Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue. Even though I said that he couldn't pick two, Jason can pick two. I'll put both of them in the show notes. I actually love his choices because they are definitely quintessential Gen X songs, right? Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, you can't go wrong there. Well, speaking of show notes, you can go over to genxamplified.com/012 for the key takeaways and links to the resources that we discuss on this episode. Definitely go over and spend some time over there. And if you are enjoying this podcast overall and all of our great and valuable chats with our guests, please go over to iTunes to give a rating and review. It only takes a couple of minutes, but the appreciation I will have will last a lifetime. I promise you. So thanks again so much for listening in. And also, if you did not get a chance to listen to the previous episode number 11 with the awesome Chris Ducker, please check it out. I promise you, you will not only be educated, but you will be entertained. I will leave it at that. But it was a great chat with Mr. Upreneur, Chris Ducker. But until next time, as always, thank you for listening in, and go out, find the greatness in your story, amplify that story so you can maximize your impact in business and life. Thank you again, and all the best to your success. Take care.